What keeps real estate investors from getting started? Maybe you saw a Carlton Sheets infomercial, if you're like me, when you first got started. Um, Maybe someone that you know is a real estate investor and has talked to you about it. And you say, well, that sounds great. And I really hate my job. Some people come out of the gate like a shot and they have their first deal within a week and they're a success story. And then some people look at it for years and never buy real estate investment property. Why is that? What is the difference between the people that take action and the people who don't? What are the fears that stop them from changing their life? That's what we're going to talk about today. So you guys go out, grab a cup of coffee or get the kids squared away, and we'll be back in 45 seconds. Good morning, Sub Tour.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is William Tingle. I've got my lovely bride Jody here with me today. Today, we're going to talk to you guys about the fear of getting started. Originally, this was planned to be an episode with William Bronchick. He was going to come on and answer Q&A. We've already got a comment from Tammy saying, good morning. I'm really looking forward to this one today. Well, I hope you're looking forward to us. William's had something come up. He can't make it today. And we're going to fill in for him as best we can here.
Yeah, don't leave, Tammy.
Yeah, don't leave. If you've got some questions, we'll still answer them for you. Hey, Phil, happy anniversary, Tingles. Thanks so much. We appreciate that. Guys, we had the ultimate sub 2 anniversary. It
totally
was our second anniversary on 2/22/22. And it was a Tuesday, man. It was amazing. So, yeah, gotta go now.
I don't. It's a Facebook user. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, well, okay. Listen, man, it doesn't hurt my feelings. Listen, if I'd known Bill wasn't going to be here today, I might not have shown up.
They're just joking, I'm sure.
So anyway, but today, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the fear of getting started. Well, first of all, let's just go into the normal routine that we do. This is Go Talk. We do this Facebook Live fear of getting started. Well, first of all, let's just go into the normal routine that we do. This is Go Talk. We do this Facebook. We've got some technical difficulties here, but
sorry. Is that my fault?
I don't know. Anyway, so we're coming to you today from Pensacola, Florida. We're on our way to our final destination for the spring.
Temporary final.
Yeah, well, temporary final. Yeah, that's correct. We'll be in Apollo Beach for 3 months, and we're on our way down there, and we're going to be here for a couple more days. We got another Facebook user. It says, happy anniversary. Well, thanks so much. If you'll go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, we can know who you are. So check that out.
Well, I think the gotta go now is Brian Bagnall.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
I knew. I figured it was a smart aleck.
Listen, ask your questions. If you're on here with us this morning, introduce yourself. Tell us where you are. Tell us what you do, what your specialty is, and ask your question. Well, I've been doing this for a little bit. I guess between the two of us, we've been doing this for about 40 years. We may be able to answer a question or two about some creative stuff. I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but
me neither.
I know enough to be dangerous. Let's see. We've got a question already. Let's see what it's. Chad says, if I acquire property using a land trust, Do I need to be listed as the trustee in order to sell or refinance later? Well, no, you don't, Chad. And in fact, it's probably the best thing.
Maybe not.
It's probably best if you aren't the trustee, because the primary reason that we use a trust, there are many reasons to use one, but the primary reason we use them is for privacy. And sub 2 is actually perfect. Um, it's actually a perfect mechanism with subject to, because there's no trail to you whatsoever. Now, if you go out and you buy an investment property, let's say, and you get financed from Bank of America, they're going to insist you take title personally when you purchase it. So there's Chad's name right there on the mortgage. There's Chad's name on the deed. And even if once everything's recorded, immediately you transfer that into a trust, anyone with any knowledge of title and how these things work can just take a quick peek at the courthouse or whatever and put two and two together and understand that Chad owns that property. But when you buy from Joe Seller got the mortgage in his name. The property was taken. He took ownership in his name. It's deeded to 123 Oak Street Land Trust that, of course, Chad has. That's Chad's trust. There's no connection to you whatsoever. So that's a really good thing, Chad. Now, if you're a trustee, chances are your name's going to be on the deed. I can pretty much guarantee that. Most states require the trustee be listed there. So there goes your privacy again. All they've got to do is track Chad down, and chances are they get to the bottom of things. Your best trustee is going to be an individual with a last name different from you that lives in another state. And that makes it difficult for people to connect you. That makes it difficult to find this person. The more generic the name, the better. So, I mean, if their name is Smith or Jones, I mean, you're golden. So that is the absolute best scenario. You can use an entity as a trustee. I thought I was being super smart when I got started, and I formed a corporation to act as trustee for all the properties. Now, it's way too easy to find out who is the head of a corporation or an LLC now. So that's probably not your best practice. But no, you don't want to be the trustee. If you have to, can you? Yes, you can, but you're going to remove a lot of the privacy aspects when you do that. So anyway, hope that answers your question. Now, when it comes time to refinance, the bank's probably going to want that thing pulled out of the trust and put in your name. But if you're going to refinance it, or especially if you're selling it, well, it's gone anyway. So then that's not going to be a problem for you. So I hope that helps. Gosh, Tammy says, love to connect with you when you get settled in Apollo Beach. Absolutely, Tammy. So I know you guys are down there in Florida. We want to meet as many people as we can that are down there in Florida. So yeah, certainly let's talk. Randy Thompson. Hey, it's Randy. He's listening while you're iced in. That weather is wicked down there right now, isn't it, Randy? It's good to talk to you. I need to touch base with you sometime soon. Brian, I've been having more and more problems with lenders and insurance companies giving me a hard time about accepting authorizations and POAs to speak on behalf of the homeowner seller. Any workarounds? It's always been my understanding that a place has to accept POA as long as nothing is fishy about it, obviously. On that note, Brian, I would just say that I guess it's done so often now they may not like it. A power of attorney, you may have to get a letter from a lawyer to send it to them. I mean, a power of attorney, they should really be accepting that. I don't know. Are these specific lenders? Maybe Wells Fargo is giving you some trouble. They've always been the first ones to give you problems. Insurance companies, are you using Corey and Jason? I know you're talking about your seller's insurance company, and that's really, they don't have to be an issue. It is convenient to be able to get that refund from their insurance company. But when you switch insurance, they're just not going to get paid anymore. So they'll go away on their own. That's not a problem. But the lender should be accepting that POA. If they're not, best practice is to, Wells Fargo, right? They're just a problem all the way around. and they always have been. But yeah, USAA in terms of seller's insurance, like I said, though, they're going to be a non-issue. Yes, you won't be able maybe to get that refund, but I mean, if that's the way it is, that's just the way it is. They just won't get paid anymore when you put the new insurance in place. So that may cost you a few $100s or something like that. But, they're not that big a deal. The lender now, yeah, the lender's kind of a big deal. You want to make sure. What I would do would be just have the seller get on a three-way call with you, add you as an authorized person. We've done that for years. It really cuts to the chase. It gets things done very quickly. So, yeah, that's what I would do. That would be my approach with that. Have you heard that Missouri has outlawed land trust by statute? I'm waiting to get the actual law that does that from a title company. I would really want to see that. What is their purpose for outlawing a trust? Like I said, I wish we had Bronchick on here this morning so he could address that.
Yeah.
I have not heard that. I don't know how they can outlaw a trust. Maybe Bill Walston's listening in this morning. Maybe he can offer some input on that. But no, I have not. When you get that, I would love to see it.
And if you guys want to go into it a little more, you feel free to jump on.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
Come in with us.
If you're a Mac student, you've got the link to come in.
Yeah.
Randy, you've got that in the group. So if you want to come in the studio and tell us what you know about that, we would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Exit agents team. I just did a refi with a property in a trust. They did not require me to remove it from the trust. Man, that's fantastic. Was that a small local bank that knew you personally, or was it one of the larger lenders? That would be my question. Hey, Tracy, good morning. Good to see you. Randy's possible solution for Brian: get the POA filed at the courthouse with their stamp. Then they will accept it since the county accepted it. Okay. Well, there you go. Hey, Farouk, good morning. Good to see you here. About the land trust, when you decide to sell the house, you're also selling the trust, or do you keep that? The trust will dissolve when you sell the property, unless you're selling it to another investor or someone for cash who is savvy about trust, where all you'll do is assign the beneficial interest to that trust. In other words, let's say that I've got a property that I'm holding in a trust and I decide to sell it to you subject to, and you pay me for my equity. I can just assign the beneficial interest, and the trust doesn't have to change. You can keep it. Chances are, though, and I know in our properties, when we sell with seller financing and our buyers get refinanced, they're always doing it with an institutional lender. And for that reason, it'll go from the trust to the buyer's name. So the trust will just disappear at that point. It won't exist anymore. Good morning, Brad. Good to see you on here. Okay, let's see. We got Tammy. I'm having issues getting insurance switched over from my LLC to my trust on a property. Any suggestions on a company to work with in Florida? Tammy, call Jason and Corey at Big Insurance. If you haven't heard of those guys, they're a sponsor of our podcast, so you should have already heard of them. BHAMINS group.com. Maybe if those guys are listening, maybe my producer here can message them or something and get them on here. But they can insure in all 50 states. They're a fantastic company, Tammy. And I'm not just saying that because they're sponsors of our podcast. I mean, we know them. They have worked with us. They understand how Sub 2 works. They understand investors. If you are a rehabber, they do builder's risk. If you're a landlord, they do landlord policies with no vacancy exclusions. So you don't have to worry about your policy getting canceled if you're vacant for 30 days. And I have yet to run a quote through their portal that did not beat the price of the other insurer significantly. So give those guys a call. I feel very confident they can do anything that you guys need to have done. So maybe we've got a banner or something with their website address on.
I can make it quick.
Exit Agents team. That's Ed. Ed down there in Salem, Oregon. If you guys are doing real estate down there, give him a call. Yep. Tracy says Jason and Corey are amazing and very, very helpful. Yep. Brian, another big insurance is great. All my policies are through them. Fantastic. Okay, guys. So, yeah. All right. So, what we said we were going to talk about today, and like I said, you guys throw any questions that you have in here. We'll be glad to help as best we can. We're not attorneys, but we'll help you out as much as possible on that note. But the topic really today that we said we wanted to talk about, well, what can we talk about that'll really be helpful to people? And that is, what is keeping you guys that haven't bought a house yet from doing it? What are your fears? What are the things that are stopping you from putting a contract on a house, talking to a seller, whatever it may be? Let's talk about those. Let's shoot those, kick those butts. I want to buy a house, but I want to invest in real estate, but let's kick some butts today. All right. Give us the questions and we'll try to tell you why that's not something that you need to worry about. Cassie asked, what are the pros and cons of using an LLC as a trustee with a land trust? Well, the primary one, Cassie, is that the LLC is, if it's your LLC, that you're the managing, the manager, the members of your family, whatever, is that it's so easy now with a couple of clicks to find out who's in control of that LLC. And that's the major thing. Now, some states have an issue with an entity acting as trustee. If you do, for example, when I got started, I was in Georgia. And actually, if you're a corporation, you can't be the trustee of a trust unless you're registered with the SEC. Well, the penalty for, it's a fiduciary thing. So you could be sued by the beneficial interest of the trust. But since my corporation was acting as trustee for my trust only, I figured the chances of me suing myself for that were very slim. So I went ahead and did it. But it wasn't the best move, again, because as I said, it's easy to find out, especially nowadays. Everything's online. So I can go to the Secretary of State website for whatever state you're in, look up the LLC and find out who formed the LLC. Well, that's Cassie. Now, can you use someone else to form it and someone else as your acting agent and those things? Yeah, but it's still really difficult. Chances of them tracking that down to you are pretty good. So for that reason, I would not do it. You can do it, but I don't know if I would. So Farouk's got a question. When refinancing a home from personal name into an LLC, how to ensure I maximize the tax savings and reduce liabilities? And he's got a specific example. Let me tell you your best bet on that, because there are some variables, with your situation. Everybody's tax situation is a little bit different. And I would feel like I'm not the best qualified person to answer that question for you. So why don't you send, I would send that question directly to Bronchick or to Walston and ask those guys, because they can probably give you the absolute best answer for that. Tracy says, a great topic idea. Tracy, I worked with you, and I know you had already done some real estate stuff way back. Talk about, if you wouldn't mind sharing a couple of things that, maybe was a problem for you in the beginning. I know, you were out there trying to make things happen, but having a little bit of difficulty. Now you're doing a fantastic job. If you want to come on, I don't know if you can. I don't know what you're doing this morning, but if you can, that'd be a great thing to talk about. Is what got in your way in the very beginning. I know for us personally, for Jody and I, we have very different story. Well, some aspects of them were different. My first real estate course was Carlton Sheets. I think one of your first was.
Yeah, that was my first one.
Okay. And me, I ordered it. It came, UPS delivered it. I was home when they delivered it. I opened the box. I sat on the couch and I started reading. And 30 minutes in, I was terrified. I said, man, there's a lot to know. I'm not going to understand how this works. I hope I can do it. But I just said, I'm just going to take it. ABC, 1, 2, 3. He says, do this, do it. I'm just going to do it. And I did. And 30 days later, I bought my first house. Now, your story was a little bit different.
Mine was much slower.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my Carlton Sheets course. I don't even remember what year it was. And I read it and I thought it was exciting, but it wasn't very detailed. It's not step by step really. It's kind of an overview. And so I didn't really know what to do with it. So I read it a couple times and then I kind of put it on the shelf for a long time and just thought about real estate. Now, there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't like online stuff. Online wasn't really available. There was the internet, I think, when I started, but it wasn't, there wasn't much real estate stuff on there yet. There was no Facebook or anything. So when I finally did kind of decide I really wanted to look, I found REI Place, which is, your old business that you had. And I didn't, know too much about sub 2, so I didn't really pay attention to that stuff. But once I was on there, I heard about other coaches and teachers and stuff like that. So I started ordering more courses. Then I had a lot of courses before I did anything.
Right.
Which is common. I think a lot of people do that.
Right.
Because I felt like I had to know a sufficient amount of stuff before I could start, or I would be in trouble.
Right.
I thought it'd be dangerous, So, so I bought. I didn't buy any sub 2 courses. I bought flipping courses and short sale courses and marketing courses. I bought your marketing course way back then.
Yeah.
But I didn't buy the sub 2 course because, as we've said before, like I don't, I was a non-believer. I was like, who's going to just give you that house, So I didn't get in the sub 2 area at all. I did a rehab and I did some short sales, but I got one course that was pretty thorough. And I just decided, this was in 2007, I think. It was pretty thorough that I thought, okay, I'm just going to do this like step by step. It was pretty step by step course. And so I followed it, and I'm just not, it was a long course, and it was a short sale course, of course. So there's a lot of parts to it. And so I'm just going to do this step that I'm on and not go ahead and not think about what all the rest is, because it was too scary, So I did one part, and then I did the next and the next. And then all of a sudden the bank sent me an email saying, we've approved your short sale. And I'm like, oh. And then I freaked out because I didn't know what to do. Of course, you only have 14 days to close. And I didn't have a buyer yet. And, so it was like, that's exactly what I was afraid of that would happen. And it happened, but I didn't die or anything. So that was good.
And it worked out.
Yeah. I made $6,000.
You found a buyer.
I did. I found a buyer. It was two older ladies that were sisters, and they had cash and they could close. They really, because they had cash and they could close quick, they really, gave me a lowball offer. Because I was hoping to make $20,000 on that house, and I probably could have if I'd have waited, but I didn't have time.
Right.
So they lowballed me, and I thought, you know what? I went onto the REI Place forum and I said, "Here's my dilemma. I know this. I know I can get $20,000 more, or $14,000 more if I wait, but I don't have cash, and I need to. This way, I can double close and I can use their cash." And so I said, "So what should I do?" And they're like, "Take the money. Just take it and go. It's your first deal. Just take it and close it and move forward." So that's what I did.
Yeah. Cece says, "Jody, that sounds like me." And it's true for so many investors. Actually, what Jody did was out of the norm for investors because she eventually got started. 97%, this is statistically, okay, and coaches understand this in our industry. Statistically, 97% of people who buy a course. Now that's a commitment. This is people that make a financial investment. Okay. This doesn't count all the people that read in all the groups and ask all the questions, but never buy a course, either because they can't afford it or they're afraid to spend the money. But 97% of people who purchase a course never buy a house. Okay. That's a strong number. So what's keeping all these people from doing it?
Well, another thing I was just going to say, is that I did a lot of things that felt like I was doing something that wasn't doing anything.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't get an LLC because, I don't know. I just didn't think I needed to go that far. But I mean, I had business cards and, I just got all kinds of things ready. I was just getting ready to get ready.
Mhm.
And I didn't do anything until, I really don't know what it was that made me finally go, okay, I'm just going to do this. I mean, I think it helped that there was the step-by-step thing, because I'm kind of scattered and kind of like ADD. And so I can't just take a bunch of pieces and put them together very well myself. So if it's all in order, I do that a lot better.
Right.
Oops,
Okay.
sorry, I need to do that.
I'm wanting to send Tracy a link. She wants to come in here.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm trying to
And,
do right now.
and if you'd ask people that knew me, they would all say, she'll probably just think about it for a long time and never do it, because that's how I had been. I always
Right.
had a lot of good ideas and I didn't ever pull the trigger because I was always too scared.
Right.
But
Hey,
once I
Tracy.
pulled the first trigger,
Mhm.
it was, and once I first got that first deal done, I had actually had another short sale kind of in the pipeline too. And that one was approved like a month or two later.
Mhm.
And so I had two bang, bang like that. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, now I can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Tracy, I just sent you a link in Messenger. That one should work for you. You should be able to get on here. Let's see. Farouk said, thought Bronchick would be on. Yeah, sorry. It's just us today. It's just us today. He had something come up. Listen, you know how it is, buddy. You got to learn. You got to learn how to move. Things change. You got to go with the market. Hey, Tracy's on here today. So, hey, Tracy.
Tracy, you're outside.
Hey, y'all are seeing me in the morning when I'm out doing my walking, but
yeah,
there you go. Hey, you look great.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about getting started. What's so hard about getting started?
Well, with Subject to deal that I met you through, it was intimidating to me. Even though I had already done other kind of deals, I knew how to calculate cash flow. I knew how to do a wholesale deal. Buy low, sell high is a simple concept. But when I started thinking about all the different gears that had to be turning in concert to pull off a sub 2 deal, it took me 2 years to have the courage to even think a house might work before I called you, just studying.
Right.
I mean, just all the moving parts was very intimidating to me, feeling like if I did something wrong, I would mess somebody up because they were nicer houses you're dealing with, people that needed to move. It was just I didn't want to spoil my reputation.
Right.
Just identifying an appropriate deal, that was another stumbling block.
Right.
Those things were a big deal.
Let me ask you now, though, looking back on that, I'm sure you realize now that it seems like there are a lot of moving parts because a mortgage is being left in place. But the truth of the matter is it's not different. And in a lot of ways, it's simpler than other deals.
Yes, I agree that and having the first deal that Phil and I did that actually went through, that was the biggest blessing, because I had to face everything and it turned out that it was doable. It was achievable.
Right.
And that was a big deal. Just doing the first one alleviates all that. But I definitely, looking back, can see where people get to the edge and are scared to jump.
Right.
But it's just a lot of forms. The forms are more if you're doing the closing yourself. And you have to make sure you have them. But there's so much support just from you, but really from everybody in the group, that it's really not a big deal when you get into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're watching and you haven't done a deal, go find one. It's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, we really appreciate you coming on this morning and sharing that with you. And everybody should know that, even Tracy here, who talks about it being 2 years before she really had the courage to jump on something. And these guys are talking to sellers left and right now. And gosh, I don't know, but I'm going to ask. I mean, how many of y'all got under contract right now?
Right now, we're strongly pursuing 3 of them that we've got. We've got one from last year. We're still trying to figure out what's going to happen with that one and get somebody in it. It had somebody came in and stole some stuff out of it, so that's been slow.
Right.
But we've got one that we're hopefully going to close this week or the beginning of next week. We've got another one that down in Mobile that we're trying to close, and that guy has several others. We're looking at one of his other ones pretty seriously.
Right. Okay.
So
good for you. So, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Tracy. Looking forward to seeing you here in a couple of months at the mastermind.
Yeah, you can do it.
All
Y'all
right.
have a good day.
All right. You too.
Thanks, Tracy.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, guys. So, I mean, there you go. Another example. Can you do it? Sure, you can. I'm sorry. Where did we go?
I switched us back.
There we go. It's really not that much more complicated. And this is something we talk about in the Max Group all the time. And one of the things we say, ready, fire, aim. What do you need to get ready? Do you need business cards? Are they a good idea to have? Sure. Do you need an LLC? Well, at some point you do. I mean, we talked with Bill Walston recently on here about, a student of his that drug on for months and months, not doing anything because they couldn't decide what to name their LLC. Was that crazy or what? This is what you need to do today if you want to buy a house. You need to talk to some people that want to sell a house. You need to talk to some people, preferably that are motivated to sell, that have some kind of pending problem, and they really need to sell their house. I'm not talking about somebody on Zillow that's asking $500,000 for a $400,000 house and won't even give you the name. They say, well, you need to, I'm going to have an agent handle it. No, I haven't listed it yet, but I'm going to have Joe Smith handle it. Okay, well, what's Joe's number? Well, I'm not going to give it to you. Well, what's your email address so I can send you an offer? Well, I'm not going to give you that either. And we run into these. In fact, that's the reason I use that example. That's one of the people that our cold caller talked to yesterday. You think that guy's super motivated to sell? Probably not. Am I going to call him anyway? Probably, just to have fun. We'll see what his problem is and ask him why. Why do you want to make it so hard to sell it? You say you want to sell, and I want to make you an offer. But you've got to talk to sellers, and you've got to make some offers on property. And that's really the first thing that you need to do. Now, if you don't know everything there is to know about how to close a deal, maybe you're listening to this, maybe you're new, maybe you've been doing this for a really long time, you don't feel extremely confident, it's okay. What you need to have is either a support group, whether that's some type of coaching or just a local mentor that does what you do that you're friends with.
Well, that's what I was gonna add that too, is that I think part of the reason I didn't take action sooner is because I did not have support at all, like family or friends or whatever didn't understand it or weren't, just weren't pushing me on like that. And it wasn't until I kind of found support on, online form, which is still better than nothing, right?
Right.
Where I started to take more action. So, I think it's a mental thing. You need to have people who are on your side and saying, you can do it. And if you don't have it at home with your circle, then you have to find it somewhere. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big part of it, because that's why I didn't start sooner.
Right. Okay. You definitely need to be networking with people, whether that's your local RIA or whatever it is. And if you don't have one, that's not an excuse. Jody, any of you guys that follow us know we've been traveling a lot for the last 8 months or so. And since I've been an investor, everywhere I go, I look for bandit signs. And most of the time I'll call them to see if they answer the phone, to have a conversation, to find out if I start buying in this area, who am I going to be dealing with? Who is my competition? Or who can I collaborate with, depending on how, they interact with me when I call them. So
it's really fun anyway.
It is fun.
See how some of them are real scarcity minded and are like, why do you want to know? Yeah. And some of them are helpful. It's kind of fun.
Right. Exactly. So, but if you don't know, find someone. If there's not a RIA that's local to you, look for the bandit signs, look for the We Buy Houses people, call real estate agents, whatever, and say, hey, we want to start having a get together once a month at the Chinese restaurant or anywhere where they'll give you a big table or a private dining room for the evening, and just say, I'm going to be here at 7:00 on Tuesday. Whoever shows up does. Y'all have a conversation about real estate. That's how I got my RIA started in Macon, 15 years ago. And we went from 5 or 6 people meeting, once a month to, 75 or 100 people that showed up for a meeting, a couple of years later. So that's how those things get started.
We started one too. I mean, I started one in Eau Claire because there wasn't one, at least not one that I could find. And I started one. It didn't ever get really big because, well, I don't know why. Maybe I didn't run it that well. Didn't have enough interesting topics, or maybe some areas are just a little bit more like, they're kind of guarded and they don't like to share things. The people that came, that's what they said. They're like, why would we tell you what we do?
Mm-hmm.
So
listen, and we had a conversation recently with somebody in Sierra Vista. We called a We Buy Houses sign, and I talked to a guy that through the conversation we learned he had been a rehabber. That's what he did, and he'd been doing it for about 12 years. And I asked him if he ever came across houses that, didn't have a lot of equity. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, well, I can't buy them. I can't buy them and make any money. And I said, well, what if I were interested in those leads? Would you be interested in working with me on it? He said, well, how can you buy it and make any money? That's just stupid. And so I said, well, listen, why don't we meet? We're going to be here for a couple of weeks. Why don't we get together and go have a taco and I'll explain it to you? And so I was going to tell the guy how to make money with these deals, right? And he said, no, I'm a pretty busy guy. I don't have time to be giving away all the
I don't have time for tacos.
Yeah, I don't have time to talk to you, basically. I'm not going to. I guess he thought that I wanted him to, teach me how to rehab over lunch, and I've done some rehabbing. I'm not too interested in doing that stuff, but anyway, so he didn't want to talk to me, so we didn't talk ultimately. But anyway, that's just kind of some of the stuff you run into. We also had a conversation with a young lady. This particular time, I was just asking about. I saw your sign that says We Buy Houses. How does that work? And she said, well, do you have a house for sale? And I said, well, maybe. But I'm just curious. Your sign says you can pay full price. Is that cash? And she said, yes. And I said, so if I've got a house worth $250, you can pay me $250 cash. And she said, yes. And I said, well, how do you guys make money with that? And she says, well, that's really none of your concern, which I thought was super friendly. But anyways, that's just, I couldn't believe it, really. I was speechless at that point.
I know, it was so rude. I remember my jaw fell open. I'm like,
yeah. So anyway, Brad had a question. Haven't really looked around yet. Just signed up for the $700 group. Is there information?
It's not that expensive, honey.
The $7 club. Is there information in there on how to structure and figure offers? Understanding how to come up with 3 offers is my stumbling block. Well, Brad, there's probably some information in there on that. Now, I'll personally answer any question you've got. We do that on the Ask William post. If you've got a specific question about deal structure, ask it on that post. I will answer it live every Friday. Why do you feel like it's important to have 3 offers? I mean, we're doing multiple offers now with sellers, but why do you feel like 3 is the number? That's my question. So if you want to answer that here, or you can message me or whatever, then I'll be glad to answer that. Phil said I didn't make any money on my first deal, and that happens.
Well, that's discouraging.
Yeah,
I'm glad you kept going, Phil.
But it happens. So don't it.
Well, for some people though, that makes them stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
Brad said just what it seems like most people do. 3 offers.
3 offers. I'll tell you something. It's only been in this market that I've considered multiple offers. I never did it. I made the offer that worked for me, and that's that. I mean, this is what I want to do based on this situation. Now, I might be flexible. In other words, let's say a seller calls me with a $250,000 house that they owe 200 on. I may try to take over the payments and give them 10,000. If they say no, I need 20. Will I give them 20? Probably, because the numbers work for my model. I'm probably going to get 25 down from my buyer, so I'll still get cash up front, cash flow, and then cash when the buyer refinances. But I may be flexible with my offer, but I'm going to make the offer that works. Now, we see the benefit in making them a cash offer, because that's what everybody says now. Most people, no, nothing but cash, nothing but cash. So that same $250,000 house, depending on the repairs it needs, I'm going to offer them 2/3 of the value in cash, and I'm going to offer them a full price creative finance offer, but just those 2.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 3 offers. I mean, 2 offers is still an option. You know, they have choices.
Mm-hmm.
But the cash offer makes the terms offer look a lot better.
Right. I mean, if you're a lease option person, a lot of times some investors go with a 3rd offer that's a lease option offer. But I'm not a lease option person. I don't like that. There are certain situations I would consider it, especially with me feeling like we're topping out in the market right now, but not for the model that I have. Buying on a lease and option will not let me sell with seller financing. I would either have to hold it as a rental or sell it with a lease and option. And I've done that sandwich lease option stuff before, and I just don't like it for a lot of reasons. That could be a completely different episode. Friends don't let friends do lease options. So anyway, hope that helps. Let's see. Tammy says, I was terrified to move away from wholesaling into creative deals, so I teamed up with someone who had experience to learn the process while JVing. Now I wish I'd kept all those wholesale deals. Isn't that the truth, man? If we could just predict the future all the time, it's crazy, isn't it? Let's see. Tracy said, I should have said this when I was on with you, but you don't need any of the stuff. According to the 80-20 rule, most of us are spending all of our time doing things that are not going to produce fruit. I was just sorting through my thoughts as I was walking and listening. What am I doing? That's a waste of my time. Even if I don't enjoy it, do I need to do more of because it's producing fruit? That's right. And for a lot of people, that is the exact thing you need to be doing, Tracy. And I know you know this. Talking to sellers, gosh, that is a huge obstacle for people. Talking to sellers. Why is that a problem, guys? Tell us in the chat why that's a problem for you. It's just
we talked about that on a previous Goat Talk, I think.
We did.
About why it's hard. And it's like I said before, it's just mostly it's a fear of that they think you're what they think of you, you know, and that they think you don't know what you're doing, or, you know, things like that. And usually they don't know what you're supposed to be doing, so they don't really know.
Right. They don't. And what's the absolute worst case scenario in a phone conversation with someone you don't know? They cuss you out. They call your mama a lot of names, and you just say, hey, have a nice day. I'm sorry I bothered you. You know, I'll send you a letter.
Yeah.
You know, and hang up. I mean,
how dare you? My mother died.
Yeah. You know, really, I mean, you can say whatever. And I've seen a lot of text exchanges where people get nasty. There's no need for that. Just wish them well. Say, sorry that, you know, obviously we can't work together, but wish you the best selling your house. And, you know, if you want to carry it a little further, just say, listen, I'm not your buyer, but I'll be glad to be a resource for you if you ever need any help. So you've got my number. Have a great day. I mean, what did that cost you? Nothing. And I mean, you're a bigger person, right? Okay. Not being able to handle objections. Listen, I did, if you will do a search in the forum, I made a post. It's probably been, I don't know, 2 years ago now, where I said, give me your objections and I will answer every one of them. And we had like 134 objections that people raised, from everything from what if I die, what'll happen, to, I mean, how do I know you'll make the payments? Is the bank okay with this? I mean, every objection you could imagine, and I answered every one of them. And I'll try to get that thing tagged when we get off here and bring it to the top and tag you in it. If there's an objection in there, man, I heard a bunch of them that I've never heard before. We answered all those things. So I think that'll cover most everything that you've got. I hope that helps, Renee. Phil says, start talking to FSBOs, get comfortable talking with them, build rapport, asking questions. That's right. We did a practice session in the Sub2 Max group for a long time, and it helped a lot of people get better with cold calling. So if you've got another investor, practice with, if you're not in a group that does that sort of thing, just practice. Go back and forth. An accountability partner, somebody that a couple of times a week you can get on the phone and do a couple of practice calls. It's a lot of fun, and it really will help. Okay. GM, it's most of your sub-twos from expired listings or pre-foreclosures. I want to tell you, ever since I've been an investor and started focusing on foreclosures, probably 2/3 of my business has been from pre-foreclosures. Now, COVID stopped that pretty much, and it shifted over to FSBOs. But you can get sub-2 deals, bankruptcies that have fallen out of bankruptcy. They're an excellent opportunity for you. Focus on VA loans. If you're in a military town where people are transferred in and out all the time, those are good resources for you. Basically anything. I mean, people still get divorced. Now the foreclosures are coming back. So they'll be another thing. A lot of people are coming out of forbearance right now. Those are a little bit more cash intensive, but if you've got money partners or people like that, if the lender won't do a remodification or modification on the loan, then that may have to be the way you go on that. Randy said, if you partner with someone who does deals, you get to make money while learning, someone looking over your shoulder to make sure you don't lose money, copies of paperwork they use if you don't have them, possible money partner if you don't have money, a better mindset. I totally agree, Randy. And that's why we're heavily targeting wholesalers right now. If you're a wholesaler and you don't know how to do creative finance stuff and you want to learn a little bit about it, we're looking for wholesalers that have leads that they can't close traditionally. We'd love to work with you. We've got a link. You guys message me, send me a Facebook Messenger if you're doing that. And, we'd love to buy your deals from you and show you a thing or two about how to do this stuff. Let's see. Phil said, no money, but I learned a ton. That's right. So really what it boils down to is knowing what works and having a conversation with the seller to find the win-win. That's really it, Brad. What do they need? Now, if you use a tool like PropStream, you already know what they owe and some of the terms of their loan and things like that. So while you're looking at it, and if you know the area, it's going to give you an overview of what the thing will rent for. Now, you're going to have to, your due diligence will uncover the actual facts. In other words, PropStream may say this property will rent for $1,500 a month. But when you get on the phone during your due diligence process and you talk to a real estate agent or a property manager there, and you find out that it'll only rent for $1,300 a month, realistically, that may change, the complexion of things. But that's the point where you go back to the seller and you may have to renegotiate anything that you've worked out with them. The key here, though, guys, and let me say this just it reminded me, don't do all of this due diligence, calling agents, talking to them, whatever, unless you have a contract. Because if you don't have this thing under contract, it doesn't matter. You don't have anything. And that's the real key here, I think, for new people, is that fear of a contract. If you're brand new and you talk to a seller, let's say that you find a FSBO on Zillow. You call them up. You say, hey, I saw your house on Zillow, and I'm really interested in it. And they go, yeah, I got to get rid of this thing. My wife and I are getting a divorce, and I didn't make last month's payment. And I'm telling you, this stuff will just fall out of some of these people. What would you do? I'm telling you, if I heard that, man, I would already be queuing the contract up to send them. So, okay. So tell me a little bit more about it, Joe. What about your house? Do you know about what your mortgage balance is? Does it need any work? How soon do you want to get this done? I want to get it done right away. I mean, you want to get them a contract right now based on the information that they give you. Why are so many new people afraid to sign a contract? I don't know. Should you be afraid? I don't know, Jody. What do you think about
Well, we had a conversation about that too, and it's people are afraid that if they made a deal that doesn't work, they don't know how to get out of it without being in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you did a podcast too about like how to back out of a contract or something like that, right? Didn't you?
I don't know if we did that or not. If we didn't, we need to. Let me tell you this. If your contract has a due diligence period, and what is due diligence? It's verifying the facts as they've been presented to you. Now, I've met a lot of investors who do this thing backwards. They talk to the seller. The seller tells them, I owe X, my payment's Y, I really need to sell it. I need to get it sold right away. And the investor's response is, well, let me check out a few things and I'll get back to you. Okay, so you're going to go do a lot of work on something that you may or may not get, because I'm telling you today, if I talk to that seller and they say, man, I just really want to get rid of it, I'm going to get it under contract, then I'm going to sort it out. That's the way it works. Because once I've got it under contract, it's mine to say yes or no to. And another thing that you have to consider is a seller that's in distress is looking for some type. They just want to be able to take a breath, okay? And the fact that I've got a house under contract, I want to buy it based on what they've told me, unless they've just out and out lied to me, I am going to buy it. So that's what you want to do. Get it under contract, then sort it out. Then verify the terms of the loan. Then verify the condition of title. Then verify the condition of the property. And you're generally going to allow yourself at least a couple of weeks to do that. If, for example, they told you they owe $240 and it turns out there's a second mortgage and they owe $300, is that deal going to work? Well, probably not, but you can go back and say, listen, Mr. Seller, here's the problem that we found. What can we do? I've had that happen to me before and uncover a second mortgage and go back with the bad news thinking we weren't going to do the deal and have the seller say to me, well, what if I paid that off? Would you still be interested? Mm-hmm. You just don't know.
But then you have a legitimate reason to back out of the contract because the numbers didn't add up. So you're not doing anything, shady.
And you can absolutely get out of it. It's not, and I'm not talking about weasel clauses where your partner's got to approve. I'm talking about a legitimate due diligence period. And we all have to do those things. Let's see.
I used to be afraid of getting a contract though too, because I thought, what if I don't know what I'm doing? What if these numbers aren't right? Even if they're right as the seller proposed them to me, maybe I don't know what a good deal is. You know what I mean? So I was kind of afraid to pull that contract trigger too. Mm-hmm. Right. And I didn't trust that I knew enough.
Right.
That's another podcast we need to do.
Mm-hmm. We've got a question. How much is your course? What does it come with? We do offer a sub-2 course. I think we can probably get a link for it here somewhere. It is $397, and it's got everything you need. It's got all the contracts. Now, you need to have these contracts, and it doesn't matter where you get contracts. Unless you paid an attorney to draw them up for you, you really need to have everything looked at by a local attorney. It doesn't matter whose course you buy. Every state's going to be a little bit different. We obviously can't include contracts specific for every state, and laws change. But it's got every document that we use in our business, an explanation from A to Z on how to do sub-2. So if you want to go take a look at that, we've got that for you. Tracy says, if you want to do your first deal, I think the best advice I could give based on what happened for Phil and me is to bring those deals to the deal evaluation calls. I agree, Tracy. And that's what we tell students all the time. And that's back to what I was saying earlier. Either have a group or a coach that you can approach, or a local mentor. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you pay, somebody you can JV with, like Randy said, somebody that you can run things by in the beginning, that can tell you what to do. We tell our students, don't be afraid of talking to sellers first. Talk to some sellers. Then don't be afraid of the contract. If it sounds like a good deal, get it under contract, bring it to us. We will tell you yes or no. Okay, you made a mistake. Here's where you have to be. Either go back and renegotiate or cancel your contract. Either one. It's nothing to be afraid of. You can absolutely do this thing.
Yeah, see, and I didn't have people to ask that if it was a good deal locally. So, people in other markets don't necessarily know if it's a good deal in your market.
Mm-hmm.
So, I found a person locally, and they said they didn't think it was that good of a deal. And guess what they did?
Mm-hmm.
They went and got it. They took
Right.
they went behind my back.
Right.
But then I found somebody later who, I trusted that was local, and then so I would bounce that off of him, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I think that's safe." So then it was nice. It made you feel more confident. You like took the fear out of it.
Mm-hmm. Will that happen to you? Will somebody go around you? You bet. I mean, there are people that stake out live seller calls. Too. Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens. Like I said, there are people that stake out live seller calls on Facebook and go back and call people. If you do and here's a tip for you: if you do live seller calls on Facebook, don't give out the address while you're doing the
or the phone number.
Don't do it, because they will. Let's see another question. What do you think is the easiest way to acquire sub-2 deals? I think the easiest way to do it is to talk to a lot of sellers and try to structure it that way. Some tips to help you on that are look for people that have a reason to need to sell, people that are getting a divorce, people that are in foreclosure, people that have to move right away. Some of these things you won't know about until you talk to them. Do some of the people that have a house for sale on Zillow have these underlying situations that we don't know about already? You bet they do.
But you never know who the sub-2 seller is. There's not like a sub-2 list.
Right.
It's like everybody, and then certain people are willing to go that route. Yeah. So you have to just search like you would any other strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just look for houses that fit your criteria. Okay. And call them and have a conversation and find out what their situation is. I'm telling you, it is more about what they got going on than anything else. It's not about a house. A lot of investors think the deal is about the house, but it's not. The deal is about the guy in the house. That's the absolute truth. You'll find that out when you start talking to people. Phil said we're making offers like William said, 2/3 current value for cash and a full price terms offer, emailing it to them, even if they say no right now. Good for you.
Good job, Phil.
Good for you. Renee said, what is the best, cheapest way to get phone numbers of sellers without committing to programs like PropStream or Batch? Well, I mean, it depends on how much time you got, Renee. If you got a lot of time, you can get on the internet and put in a name and an address and probably get a phone number. Okay, but how do you value your time? PropStream's $97 a month. Okay,
and really, like if you just want free phone numbers, I mean, it's not super accurate, but TruePeopleSearch.com is pretty good. I mean, it has phone numbers pretty often, and sometimes they're right. I mean, a lot of times they're right.
Yeah,
kind of like the new white pages or whatever. But
if you've just got a list of properties and sellers' names, you can run them through a skip trace service. Nicholas Nix has got the cheapest skip tracing I've ever found. If you buy in bulk, I think it gets down to 5 or 6 cents a skip. That's the cheapest that you go. I'm going to tell you guys, there are only 2 programs that I tell every investor they absolutely need. One is a CRM. You absolutely need that for follow-up, and it does so many things. we use REI Black Book for several different things beyond just real estate investing, all CRM stuff. You absolutely need that program. Do you need that particular one? No. There are probably 1,000 of them. Pick, you be you, pick what you like and use it. Number two is some kind of data aggregate like PropStream. Okay, we recommend PropStream because we know the people behind it, and that means a lot to us.
And we can't live without it.
Right.
Like we use it every single day.
Every day. And for $97 a month, I don't care if they have MLS comps or not. I can call an agent and comp a property. All right.
It tells you so much more than just,
Right.
I mean, the sold comps, yeah, that's helpful, but it tells you so much more that you need to know, and you can always verify those comps with someone else.
Yep. Let's see. Been verified is great, and sheet manual search. Isn't peoplesearch.com free? Yes. Do they have a paid version? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but they do have a free
search. I just like the way it looks better.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Again, guys, think about what your time is worth, and this is something that we talk about with students too all the time. What you have, most likely, you have one of two forms of currency you can spend. You've either got time or money, and when you're getting started, a lot of times you don't have the money. You do the manual stuff, you do it yourself. But as soon as you can afford it, think about it. I used to cut my own grass, all right, until I realized one day it takes me 2 hours to mow my lawn, and I've got a yard guy that cuts every property that we buy, vacant properties and everything else, for like $30. Is my time worth more than $15 an hour? I think so. If I can go out and talk to a seller today for 2 hours and buy a house and make $30,000, my time is much better spent talking to people than mowing my grass. And after that day, I never mowed another yard. So I don't know.
And then when we got married, you wouldn't let me mow either.
That's right. Is there any specific reason why you quit claim the properties to a trust with seller's beneficiary, then transfer the beneficial interest instead of taking it into your trust? You know what? I don't do it that starting way. I was taught to do it that way, to establish the trust for the seller with the seller's beneficial interest, then transfer the beneficial interest to us after the fact. And what I found was if I take that out of the equation, then all I have to tell the seller is, listen, we'll be taking title in a trust. There's no transfer of beneficial interest or any of that stuff. The only reason I can think of people still do that today is they do that so they'll have that if the bank ever calls a loan due, they can say, listen, the trust was set up for the seller. That, to me, that borders on some type of fraud. If you're showing them a document that's not legit, the seller really isn't the beneficial interest. So if you get called on it, which I'm telling you, the chances of that are very remote, you just have to try to work it out another way. We keep it simple. We have our seller deed to a trust where our LLC is the beneficial interest out of the gate. We don't have to explain complicated things like trust to sellers. It makes the process go much easier. It never looks funny if it winds up in court when the seller says, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought it was in a trust for me and all of that stuff. So we don't do it that way. We take it straight into a trust. And I think that's the best way to do it. Let's see. Okay. Did we get everybody's question? I think we did. Okay.
Well, we're a little over anyway, so that's good timing.
All right. So we got one more. I just want to call sellers that are pre-foreclosure or expireds. That's an excellent thing to do. And you've got the access to the expireds, being an agent. So good for you. Okay, great. All right, guys. Again, sorry for the confusion. Bill,
this wasn't a bait and switch, I promise.
Wasn't a bait and switch. Bill was supposed to be here today. We were looking forward to talking with him about some legal stuff and trust and those things. We had a few questions, but fortunately, I think we knew enough to cover those things. Anyway, guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of stuff coming up in the works, and we'll be having a lot more training on YouTube soon. If you're not already a member and you are on a budget and you want to get started and learn about creative finance, join us in the $7 coaching group. That, I guarantee you, is the absolute least expensive coaching on the planet, where you can actually get your questions answered by someone who's been doing this for 22 years and what's 40 years between us. So we'll both answer your questions. We'll answer them live every Friday. And of course, we do this every week as well. So, and if you guys are interested in some top shelf coaching, join us in the Sub 2 Max group. We meet 3 times a year for in-person masterminds. We have, gosh, how many calls do we have a month now? Training calls?
Like 12, I think.
12 or 14, somewhere in that neighborhood. Deal evaluation, ninja live seller calls, how to use VAs, questions to the big group on insurance, how to insure your properties, how to insure with sub 2s, marketing, lead generation, Nicholas Nick, using video and social media with Lolita. Gosh, we got a ton of people. Burton's in there every month talking about how to use PropStream.
He shows you really cool tricks and tips.
Yeah, that's right. We got a ton of people. I don't know if we left anybody out, but man, we got a ton of great teachers and instructors in there. Love to have you join us. So anyway, anything else today?
I don't think so.
Is that it? Okay, guys. Well, we'll be back next week. It was great to see y'all. And you guys get out there, talk to some sellers, and buy some houses. We'll see y'all next week.